Hey guys, it's Vandy as well by Card Vanguard deck profiles. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and story. This time we're covering DZ set 11 for Dragon Empire in Varga. I have not touched this Varga deck since what, sets 5 when Rakshasa got released. So anyways, Rakshasa is that evolved form of Varga that can swing basically the same amount of times consistently as Varga can, except with the added bonus that it can board nuke. And while Varga has gotten some consistent support over the last few sets, I haven't really covered a deck profile on it because I only changed one card last set, and then I thought now I was going to make it to the DZ Deluxe Finals, and she didn't, so I was kind of disappointed by that, but she did still get really good support in this last set in DZ set 11, so I might as well cover the deck, even though I am very disappointed about the final result. Anyways, we have our energy generator starting us off with our ride deck crest. You may only have one ride deck crest in your ride deck. On the ride deck, when you ride, put this card to your crest zone, and if you win second, energy charge 3. Continuous, you may have a 10 energy, auto begin ride phase, energy charge 3, then at once per turn, energy about 7, draw a card. Cool, all around very solid, you get a free 3 energy every turn. If you win second, you get an extra 3 on top of that, and once you have 7 or more, you can blast it to draw a card. This deck does have a few cards that do use energy, so there will be times where you won't pay that energy blast 7 to draw a card, but in case you don't draw any of those cards, or sometime you really do need that hand card because maybe it can turn into an extra attacker, you can feel free to blast 7 energy in order to draw a card. You pretty much just use it situation by situation because some of them are different than others. And then we have our starter in Heated Blade R-Dart. Grades will boost 5k show, 6k base, on a roll point for second draw card. Standard starter, nothing too special about it, it's just a free draw if you go second. Make this any starter you want. None of the ride item requires R-Dart. I choose to make it R-Dart though because I like running the canonical ride lines of grade 3s, and since R-Dart is the canonical starter of Varga, that henceforth R-Dart is here. Next up we have our Overtrigger and Dragon DD King of Resurgence Drag Veda. Grades will boost 50k shield, 5k power. Overtrigger, remove Overtrigger in your deck. Revealed as a trigger, remove that card, draw a card, choose one of these, get plus 1 for the turn. If it in a draw check, activate the addition effect, which you can choose one Vanguard to stand it. Pretty solid. You get a free 1,000,000 and a draw, regardless if you damage check the draft checklist. But if you drove check it, your Vanguard to stand. Now in a deck where the Vanguard already stands, it feels kind of having this. I mean, if you're on Rakshasa, it just means you stand without having to pay a CB, and if you pull while you're on OG, then you pretty much paid the CB to stand anyways and still lose 2 drives, essentially. But I like having Drag Veda in the deck mainly because, A, if you pull on the Divine Skill turn, and you pulled it after your Divine Skill, you can pull up some pretty crazy BS, but also just because I like running the Nation over triggers. I don't really like running the Cray Elemental over triggers. Not say that I think they're bad, I don't think they're bad, just like running the Nation over triggers on my deck profiles. But if you want to run like the Actual Smart over trigger, I recommend it is Forio for recycling and crit pressure, or I would say Nyx Forio for healing and then just extra attack pressure. One of the two, but I like running Drag Veda in my deck profiles. Then we have our normal triggers. We have a total of 3 draws and Flairville Dragon. Grades will boost 5k shield, 4k base, continues guard circle. Every opponent's Vanguard's a grade 3 or greater, 5,000 to the shield. So a 10k shield and a draw trigger, so it helps increase the hand. For some reason, I really want to play fronts with this deck. I don't know why. I might go make a Varga deck, play front with it, and see how far it gets, because I feel like Varga might get decently far with fronts depending on how you build it. So there's Flairville, very solid card to have just for draw power, and if you happen to have tried the front trigger build, let me know if it worked out or not, because I'm kind of curious about it. And then we have a total of 8 crit, 4 of which being Rogue Beast Sunagosity. Grades will boost 50k show, 5k base. Makes any crit you want. I only made the Sunagosity because it's the canonical critical to Varga. Then I have 4 copies of Burning Flow Dragon. Grades will boost 50k show, 4k power, critical trigger, auto rear guard, ability to boost it. Shout to soul, choose a nuke with decay for the turn. The deck can run into a soul problem. Realistically, should you ever call Burning Flow, even if you do run into a soul problem? No, but the option is there in case you do want it, but you can afford to make this a vanilla crit if you want to. But either way, run 8 crit for pressure because you got a restanding Vanguard who stands at least once per turn, possibly twice per turn. The over makes 3 times if you really want to go that route. And then 4 copies of Refreshing Wind Dragon Dino Breeze, our heal trigger. Grades will boost 50k shield, 5k power. Make this any heal trigger you want. I just have to make a Dino Breeze because, like how Sunagosity is the canonical critical for Varga, so is Dino Breeze as the heal trigger for Varga. On to our grade 1s, we have 2 copies of Battle Monk of the Raging Flames Kofu. Grade 1 boost 5k shield, 8k base. Kofu just fits my playstyle to the point where Kofu's going to stay in this deck as long as I can. Continues to rear guard a guard circle. If you have a grade 3 guard of Vanguard Varga in the card name, he gets 5,000 power and 5,000 shield during both players' turns. So whether you're on OG Varga or Varga Rakshasa, it's a 13k base, 10k shield, which is really helpful because in the early game, if you want to call him down to just a grade 1 to swing at a Vanguard during a grade 1 rush, you can because he's an 8k. Once you hit Varga, he'll always be a 13k booster and or swinger, so he can at least swing into a Vanguard without needing a boost. But on top of that, if you do need him and you keep him in your hand for guard power, well, he's a 10k shield once you hit grade 3. So he's not a bad grade 1 at all. You don't want too many copies of him because you have much better rear guards in the form of Rokusei and Storm Slasher, and only counting the grade 1s. Like, we have much better grade 2 and grade 3 rear guards as well. But he is really good defensively in case you do need him. And again, he does fit my playstyle of needing to be offensive and defensive at the same time. So 2 of Kofu. And then we have 4 copies of one of Varga's best support cards. I will say this, Varga and Raziel have had a really good stream of support cards where every set they get something really good. Like, for example, I thought Raziel would get Nobia, and like Nobia was the height, and then no bears, and I thought no bears was the height. I was dead wrong. And then Varga, well, we got our freaking we got Shura set 1, and then we got Rokusei the immediate next set. And then every set after that, we got some pretty consistently good cards. We know for a fact we are going to get a Varga Mistress in this next series, so I'm going to enjoy these next few deck profiles with Varga. Anyways, Rokusei, Grade 1 boost by Shield AK base, auto when placed on rearguard circle. If you have a grade 3 get a Vanguard with Varga in the card name, your opponent cannot intercept till end of turn. At the start of DZ, when this came out, it wasn't amazing because there weren't a lot of like really good interceptors. I mean, yeah, locking down your opponent intercept in general, the thing that can nuke the front row, is still pretty solid because at least locks out 10k of total shield, maybe extra more depending on what cards they had in that scenario. But now that we're later into ZZ, we have a lot of good cards that activate upon intercepting. Ahem, Impervious Dragon. So being able to lock those cards down is incredible, and doing it for free is amazing. And then auto rearguard, when any player's unit is retired from a rearguard circle in the front row in the same column as her during your turn, if you have a grade 3 get Vanguard Varga in the card name, retire her to draw a card. So she replaces herself with an extra draw. Most of the time it just draws me a trigger, which kind of sucks half the time, but I mean it's extra guard power, I guess. But either way, she opens up your board, gets you extra hand cards, and then if you gave her like Shura's skill that when a unit is retired it bounces back to the hand, you can therefore use Rokusei's skill on the next turn to lock down your opponent's intercept, and if worst case scenario comes around, she's an extra 5k shield in hand. Amazing grade 1. Screws over your opponent and makes so Varga's going to hit a lot more, and not to mention the fact that she can retire herself to get you extra hand cards. Easy 4 of. Then we have more copies of Storm Slasher Dragon, grade 1 boost by Shield AK base, so while you want to save Rokusei for your grade 3 turn, you can afford to throw down Kofu and Storm Slasher in the early game. So auto when retire from rearguard circle by the ability of your grade 3 grade Vanguard Varga in the card name, may call him to the back of rearguard circle as rest. Not a mandatory call, but I mean, you're going to call him back anyways. And then if your Vanguard's in the Malroom state, you can Soul Boss 1 to stand him, which basically means you get your rearguard to stand as a booster, and then you can change rearguard circle. If your Vanguard is in the Malroom state, he gets 5,000 power during both players' turns. So once you're on Rakshasa, this thing's a 13k, so even if you have nothing else on your board, this thing can at least swing into the Vanguard, then Rakshasa swings, mercs your front row, gets plus 10k, and then Storm Slasher calls itself to the back center to stand it. That way it can benefit Rakshasa. Very solid grade 1, works really well with the other cost of the deck because not many things in the deck actually cost soul, so being able just to be one of our few soul blasters is great, and again, working perfectly on both the original Varga and Rakshasa when it retired to call itself back. So solid 4 of. Then we have 4 PGs in Guardian Monk of the Raging Flames Monju. Grade 1 boost, 0 solo, 6k base, continuous sentinel with 4 sentinels in deck, and always when a guard circle, choose or mutes, it cannot be hits in the battle. If your hands from more cards in it, choose a card from your hand and discard it. Standard PG, nothing to specify that this means if this is one of the cards in hand plus in a guard circle, you don't have discard. It's great because that means you can be super aggressive in the early game. So, you know, Storm Slasher Kofu, and then when your opponent does eventually counterattack you, throw down Monju, give them the middle finger, you're good to go. All around, very solid PG to have. You can make this Twin Buckler Dragon or Sparkle Ejector Dragon. They have the same skill as Monju. However, I choose to make it Monju because it came out close to the time of Varga Dragres release. That and it kind of fits. Like Varga was supposed to be like kind of a not martial arts master, but you know, like just a master in combat in general. And I mean, out of all the PGs, like he's the one that looks like he's actually a master in combat in some way, shape, or form. So I feel like Monju fits. I'm kind of disappointed now doesn't use this in the anime, but whatever. And then we have Blazembar Dragon, which is really fun. So like for the first time in a while, I actually like took a look at the lore, and I looked at the lore of Blazembar and Boulder-Axe and Varga, and honestly, yeah, it's pretty cool. Mainly because I wanted to look at the lore of Rakshasa, because I really like the lore of Rakshasa, where he was possessed by Sybil, so he just chose to keep that form and work at it to become even stronger, which is a really badass reason to have a new form, which made me even like now versus Erica even more, and is one of the only reasons I've actively ever looked at lore for the Vanguard community. Anyways, grade 1 boost 5k shield AK base, auto and rolled upon by Boulder-Axe Dragon, call to rearguard circle, soul charge 1, and contains rearguard during turn. If you have a great 3 get a Vanguard Varga in the card and gets plus 2,000 power. Considering, if I remember his lore correctly, he was told by Varga himself to wield this giant sword around for 10 years and nothing else and never put it down, and he actually did it. I'm kind of disappointed that that's his only skill because he's basically Dragon Empire's version of Ventesta, but cool. Superior call, so if you went first, you can bully down your opponent's grade 1 Vanguard with this one rolled upon by the grade 2, and it replaces itself with a soul charge, and once you're at grade 3, it's a 10k swinger. Not the best thing in the world, but it can still work for boosting, so one of in the right deck, none in the main deck. On to our grade 2s, we have 2 copies of our new boy, Rockbound Edge Dragon. Grade 2 is a 5k shield, 10k base, auto rearguard when it attacks anything. If your Vanguard's a grade 3 greater Varga, it gets 5,000 power for the battle. Then you may soul charge one, not a mandatory soul charge, but if you want to soul charge because you have your soul bosses such as Storm Slasher Dragon and Eluding Dragon going off 24/7, there you go. And then Act Drop Zone, if you have a grade 3 greater Vanguard Varga in the card name, Energy Blast 3, call him back to the rearguard circle, and if your Vanguard's in the Malroom state, he gets 5,000 power for the turn. So he's already at 15k just by you being on a grade 3, but if your Vanguard is a Rakshasa, he gets an additional 5k. So if they ever like do what they did with Leonard and they upgrade Varga to where they make a version that can be ridden straight from the grade 2 that will always be in the Malroom state, well, there you go. But even more importantly than that, this is such an incredible grade 2 to the point where I kind of want to put it up to 4. And the only reason I did is because I like some of my other cards and the combos that I have with it. But you can afford to put this thing up to 4 because it's such a good skill. It calls itself from drop zone for 3 energy. Unlike every other card that requires to be called from drop zone, it doesn't say that you can't have another copy on board. So if you have 2 of these in the drop zone, pay 6 energy, call both of them. You got 15k swingers right there, whether you're in the Malroom state or not. Even more importantly than that is you get 3 free energy every turn. So once this thing hits the drop zone, at least if you have one of them, every turn you can call it out for free essentially. This is an awesome grade 2. I don't know why I thought this thing was worse than what it was. It's so good. I honestly kind of do want to put up to 4 copies now. If you do, take out 1 copy of Boulder Axe, take out 1 copy of Twin Impulsive, because dang, this card is actually really good now in hindsight. 2 to 4 copies of Rockbound. Depends on how you want to build your deck, but this is a constant recurring grade 2. Like, there's no downside to this card. Then we have 4 copies of Dragred Ashura, grade 2 instead 5k shield, 10k base. The only, of course, downside to Rockbound over here is that it eats into energy, which also eats into Shura skill, but 50-50 on that. Auto rearguard when it attacks anything, energy blast 2, and this unit gets 5,000 power for the battle. To up to 1 of your rearguards a different card name from herself, and it gets auto when it's retired from rearguard circle, put it back to your hand on the turn. So most times you pick things that are going to retire from Varga, or, you know, Boulder Axe since it's going to retire itself, or Rokusei, so you can bounce back to that to hand next turn, and then, you know, it locked out intercepts. Either way, cool. Weirdly enough, that skill has been the difference between me winning games and me losing games, because there were games where I didn't want to Energy Blast 2, because it was before Rockbound came out. I forgot what the reason why I didn't want to Energy Blast 2. Oh, it's because in those versions of the deck I had Fall Heart, but I was like, no, F it. It's either Fall Heart or Shura, but I want to win this turn, so I'm going to go all in. I pay the Energy Blast 2, and I actually won because I got the extra 5k. If I didn't do that, they would have survived and they would have won on the next turn. So pretty solid there. And then auto when retire from your rearguard by your ability for grade 3 get a Vanguard Varga in the card name. Your opponent's Vanguard's a grade 3 greater. CB1, call her back, and she gets 10,000 power for the turn. So cool. Varga now has 4 attacks in total. You know, his first attack, the 2 rear guards, Varga's second attack, so 5 attacks now actually, because then Shura makes it the 5th one. Divine skill turn, 6 attacks. If you for some reason have 2 Shuras and you're willing to spend that much CB, you got 7 attacks that turn, which is all around pretty impressive, like straight up. So 4 of Shura, really good for getting consistent multi-attack, and you can do very fun finisher plays with her. If Varga's Mishas counter charges, it's going to be golden. And then, you know, Shura being able to return your rear guards that retire to your hand makes it for a pretty solid grade 2, 4 of. And then we have last grade 2 in the deck. Again, depending on what you want to run in your deck, you change the numbers of this card, but 1 of in the ride deck, 2 of in the main deck for me personally, of Boulder Axe Dragon. He's one of my favorite grade 2 skills, which actually implies why I like Absolute Zero Sajita so much, because the grade 2 of the ride line has almost the exact same skill for Beta as Boulder Axe does, and I like it for that reason too. Grade 2 is a 5k shield, 10k base, auto Rotopalm by grade 3 card Varga in the card name, Superior Call to rear guard for free, and then auto rear guard when it attacks a Vanguard. If your Vanguard's a grade 3 grade of Varga at 5,000 power for the battle, at the end of the battle, retire and then draw a card. This effect is mandatory, so if you do swing into the Vanguard, it's a forced 15k retire itself draw a card, which sucks for me because a lot of the times I draw triggers off it, and a lot of the times I boost it with Rokusei, meaning I draw 2 triggers half the time, but hey, it's free 30k guard power. Either way, it's a great card because it's always going to be a 15k into a Vanguard, and it gets you a hand card at the end of the battle, and if you picked it via Shura skill, it's going to go back to your hand and allow you to reuse it the next turn, and it gets you a free Superior Call when drawn upon by Varga. That way you always have an attacker into your opponent's Vanguard. So solid 2 in the main deck, 1 in the ride deck. Again, change the numbers as you please to fit Rockbound or any other cards you want in this deck. Then we have 3 copies of Twin Impulsive Dragon, who has a moon in the background, who I'm not going to lie to you, I kind of forgot was in this build because the last time I played this deck, I did not see a single copy of him, meaning in the last 13 cards of my deck, he was in all 3 copies were in that last 13. Anyways, grade 3, 2 13k base, auto placed on rearguard circle. If your Vanguard's a grade 3 grade of Varga, Energy Blast 3, check the top 5, so it's a 1 grade 2 less card from one of them called to rearguard circle shuffle the deck. So, you know, preferably a Shura, it could proc off Rokusei because Rokusei doesn't have to be placed from hand, Kofu for 13k, Storm Slasher for 13k, like any target you can get at this point just for rearguard pressure, go ahead. And then auto when retired from rearguard by the ability of your grade 3 get a Vanguard Varga in the card name. If your opponent's Vanguard is also a grade 3 grader, choose one of your Vanguards against 5,000 power for the turn. So cool. When retired by either of the 2 Vargas, whether it's Rakshasa or OG, it gives the Vanguard an extra 5k, which helps put a little bit extra pressure on it, meaning the Vanguard's not an extra 5k guard, which can make the difference, especially if it's restanding doing the Divine skill to get extra triggers. All around Twin Impulsive, very solid grade 3 to have in the deck for both retired targets for Varga, but also getting you rear guards to help bully down your opponent in case you're in a really bad hand spot situation, / just advance your board in general, so solid 3 of. And then we have 3 copies of Eluding Dragon, grade 3, 10% 13k base. Varga had a lot of grade 3s when I started putting this deck together, and I kind of like realized that it's a good thing that Eluding it has an extra shield value. So it continues rear guard to guard circle. If your Vanguard's a grade 3 grade of Varga, this unit gets 10,000 power and 10,000 shield during both players' turns. So 23k base, 10k shield regardless of what grade the opponent's player is at is good. And then auto and retire from rear guard circle by the ability of your grade 3 grade of Vanguard Varga in the card name. Soul Boss 1, bounce it back to your hand. So, you know, if you end up spending all your souls, Storm Slashers, make sure you soul charge off of Rockbound, you'll be good to go. But this is your way to get it back to your hand after it's retired via Varga's effect. That way you have your 10k shield to be used on your opponent's turn. Very solid grade 3 to have. For some reason, this card reminds me of Draco Knight Draco Acquist from Yu-Gi-Oh! But cool card. 3 of. Then we have the evolution of Varga himself. Let me see if I can remember now. His right chant, it was White Hellfire and Black Inferno. I shall engulf the power of evil and use as a basis of invincibility. Malworm Kaiho, Unparalleled Dragonsleeve, Varga Dragres Rakshasa, or Rakshasa. I'm pretty sure I'm close on that one. Grade 3 to that persona, 30k base. Awesome grade 3, who I used to hate because I didn't like the fact that Varga got taken over as an evil form, because I guess because I didn't read the lore, but I didn't really care for Sybil taking over now. But her match against Erica with Rakshasa made me love it, so I'm going to take my statement back. Malworm Kaiho auto, when it was placed by writing from a unit with Varga and his different card name from this unit, or from a unit that was already in the Malworm state, until the end of this fight, this unit is considered the Malworm state, and if you Persona Road was not activated by this ride, aka Road over OG Varga, it activates Persona Ride. So cool, if Bushi does ever upgrade Varga to end up having the Leonore thing, where it then inherently has Malworm state on grade 3 turn, there you go. And then Auto Vanguard, once per turn, when this unit in the Malworm state attacks a Vanguard, for free, retire the entire front row, and he'll get 10,000 power for the turn. So 23k swing, Merc the front row. Then at the end of the battle, you may CB one. If you do, the entire back row dies, you stand him, and then he loses 2 drives for the turn. So cool. He just gets to restand twice, or restand, and then just nerf the back row for a CB. And then Divine Skill, Auto Vanguard, at the end of the battle, he attacked if he stood by his own original auto ability this turn, Counterboss 1, stand him, and he gets +2 drive for the turn. The reason why it says that is, like, say for example in Premium you found a way to somehow trigger the Malworm state while riding or while inherently Dauntless Drive Dragon skill to restand, it wouldn't proc since it's technically not considered his own original auto ability, it's considered Dauntless Drive Dragon's auto ability. Either way though, being able to stand himself after, just standing the first time is pretty solid for a simple CB and get 2 drives. It's pretty much a less restrictive and simpler version of Varga Dragres' Divine Skill. All around, really great grade 3. It activates Persona Ride by riding from OG Varga, and then from there on you're in the Malworm state, which pops up a lot of different strong abilities. It can board wipe for a simple CB, and Divine Skill is easier. Like, it's just a solid 4. I don't know what to tell you here. Then we have our last grade 3 in the deck, 2 in the main deck, 1 in the ride deck of what I like to call the pinnacle of the Unparalleled, the twin swords that conquer all. Faded 1 of Unparalleled, Varga Dragres, grade 3 to 9% 13k base, now is literally the only female anime character from a card game that I actually like. Auto Vanguard, once per turn, when this unit attacks into another Vanguard, CB1, retire all of your and your opponent's front or rear guards, and this unit gets 10,000 power for the turn. At the end of the battle, stand it and it loses 2 drives for the turn. So almost the same skill as Rakshasa, except the difference is Raksha over here retires the front row and gets 10k without needing to CB at the end of the battle. You CB. So if your opponent like sacks the over, you don't need to waste the CB to restand and lose drive checks because, well, your opponent sacked the over. But if they didn't, well, nuke the back row. Here you already lose the CB anyway, so it kind of sucks to suck. And also you benefit from Rakshasa in the case of the over trigger Jack Veda, because if you pull Jack Veda, I mean, since the skills once per turn, you're not going to restand again, but I mean, at least you get the restand anyways. And what with the drive checks, well, this one you wouldn't get the drive checks. But then the Divine Skill, Auto Vanguard, and about this unit attacked a grade 3 guarded unit. If your opponent's damage has 4 or more cards in it, this unit ended this unit attack 2 or more times this turn in total, whether the over trigger was involved or not. CB1, stand this unit and it gets +2 drive until end of turn. You can only use Divine Skills a total of once per fight among all your cards. Cool. So it's still the same Divine Skill with the restand and getting +2 drives, except it can restand by any means. So simply put, if it stood by the over, you don't have to, pay the CB cost, though that would involve you having an incredible hindsight to know you're going to sack Jack Veda. But even more so, you still get the drive check plus, and you put pressure on your opponent, with the only restrictions being your opponent is at grade 3 or greater and that 4 more damage. I mean, you can pull this off in your first grade 3 turn if your opponent went first. Now, there are times where you have to do that, and that's why I love Varga a lot, because as we saw with now in the anime against Senka, your Divine Skill can be used offensively, but it can also be used defensively to get hand cards as well. So if you think you won't survive through next turn, Divine Skill, choose to get hand cards. Or if you think you will survive to the next turn without Divine Skilling, don't Divine Skill and save it for a next turn offensive. So all around, very solid grade 3 to have. I do love Varga being able to be very versatile with his Divine Skill. I love his ability to like board clear at least the front run at 10k, and its transition to Malworm is so cool in the anime. So Obviously, I got to give like 2 of them in the main deck, 1 of them in the red deck. You know, just in case you don't go into Rakshasa, because there's not a guarantee you will go into it, and trust me, it really hurts being on a turn where you don't have Raksha and you don't have a Persona with Varga, so I like having main deck Varga just in case I need it. And without further ado, that's it for this one. I hope all of you guys enjoyed. Honestly, this deck is really fun to play. I remember that like most cards I tend to more or less like hate or have more negative feelings about when I first see them. Varga is one of the few ones that I liked upon like before I even saw the skill. Like I loved his artwork. He's a Ronin dragon with twin swords. And then I learned that he was used by Now, and then I thought they were going to screw over Now because they screw over every female character in card game animes. And then, you know, the famous match against Mondo, which is one of my favorite moments for Now, happened. Then she won against Senka. I don't like the original transition from Raksha, but then she won against Erica, and I like that one. Like, point is, I really like how Varga has come, and I cannot wait to see the Mistress of the Unparalleled, and they better make it worth it, because they did not screw over Now in the finals just to have this thing be bad. So I'm going to this one here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and join Discord, follow it. I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to set up your Vanguards.